Hello, my name is Perseus Hedman, and this is my book check-in on Crazy Brave by Joe Harjo. These are my notes. There's a back page as well, and then one more page. I couldn't fit it all on there. But to start, I have my key ideas. The first one is that Harjo explores her journey into the West, both physically and metaphorically, and the search for a sense of belonging. This can be found on page 109 of chapter 3. The second one, this chapter also highlights the spiritual connections to the land and nature, illustrating how the West represents a place of both challenge and revelation. This can be found on page 118 of chapter 3. And the third one is that Harjo reflects on the intersections of her native identity with the Western world, dealing with the push and pull of these conflicting forces. And this can be found around page 127 of chapter 3. My personal insights that I wrote down was I was pretty moved by how Harjo views the land as a teacher. It made me think about how our surroundings can shape us in ways we may not even realize. The connection between place and identity is something I hadn't fully considered before. The second one, Harjo's reflection on navigating between two worlds, which are her native identity and the Western world. This is a powerful reminder of how challenging it can be to reconcile different parts of ourselves. And then the connections to our course concepts. The first one, the theme of cultural identity in this chapter connects directly to what we have studied about how individuals navigate multiple cultural contexts. Harjo's experience mirrors the concept of biculturalism, where someone has to balance two different cultural identities, sometimes feeling torn between the two. The second one, this chapter is also an example of cultural humility. She navigates her native identity within a dominant Western context, all while demonstrating a deep respect for the teachings of her culture that she grew up in, the land, and the wisdom that has been passed down through her generations. My meaningful quotes for the first one, the West called to me as if I were already part of it, already knowing it in some other way. This can be found in chapter 3 on page 115. I picked this quote because it speaks to Harjo's deep, almost spiritual connection to the land and the sense that her journey to the West was not entirely unfamiliar, even though it was physically new. It emphasizes a theme of belonging and instinctual connection, which is crucial in understanding Harjo's perspective on identity and place. It suggests that some aspects of ourselves are deep-rooted or ancestral, calling us in ways we may not fully understand, but that we instinctively recognize. The second quote I picked was, I learned the land is the first teacher and everything in it has a lesson to offer. This can be found on chapter 3, page 123. I picked this quote because it highlights the theme of learning from nature, which is central to Harjo's narrative. The idea that the land is the first teacher emphasizes the wisdom that can be gained from the earth, the environment, and how native cultures often view the natural world as a teacher in itself. It connects to the broader theme of spirituality and devotion, a concept Harjo weaves throughout her story. The third quote I picked was, it is in the meeting of two worlds where I found myself, though I was lost. This can be found in chapter 3 on page 130. I picked this quote because it reflects Harjo's internal conflict and struggle with her dual identities, her Native American heritage, and the new Western world she is navigating. The phrase meeting of the two worlds shows the tension and intersection of these different cultural forces, and though I was lost conveys the emotional complexity of her journey. It ties into the broader theme of self-discovery, where Harjo acknowledges her disorientation, but also the essential learning and growth that occurs in her process. Over here, I have my annotations. I'm going to read you this little thing that starts at the beginning of the chapter. She writes, "West is the direction of endings. It is the doorway to the ancestors, the direction of tests. It represents leaving and being left, and learning to find the road in the darkness." I picked to annotate this because I feel like the West is often associated with endings. It's the direction the sun sets, and she describes it as the journey to the afterlife or with her ancestors. Harjo integrates these cultural beliefs into her personal journey, where the West is more than just a place. It is a spiritual pathway. My next annotation I have here, this one is about, I'll read it. "I told my mother that I was getting married, that my husband-to-be was sending for me. I was not yet 18 years old. 18 was the legal age for marriage in the state of Oklahoma. My mother must have known that fact, but she asked me no questions. I recognized that it would be a relief to get me out of the house. I was the cause of the tension." I chose to annotate this because I feel like it highlights the complexities that all families can go through, and even like just family dynamics. And it highlights personal choices and the transition from dependence to independence, which right now all of us are going through as we're trying to find our way in college. We never had to experience any of that. The next one I have here, it's on the next page. This one says, "As Tulsa, the city of my birth, fell behind me, I barely noticed the landscape. While the bus navigated the country 2 lanes that carried me toward an uncertain future, I imagined what would happen when I arrived at the bus station." I picked this to annotate because it reflects the symbolic significance of the bus ride that she's taking, as it carries her towards an uncertain, as it carries Harjo toward a future filled with uncertainty and change. This is the idea of an irreversible journey she is following in her self-discovery. The next one is right here. This one reads, "Birth is one of the most sacred acts we take part in and witness in our lives, but sacredness appeared to be far from my labor room in the Indian hospital." I chose to annotate this because it highlights the honor and profound respect that not just her culture, but many indigenous cultures, including her own, obviously, place on the act of bringing a life into the world, which we all know is, everyone always says it's a great thing. It's what we were made, that's what we were put on this earth to do, was to bring more life into this world. Thank you for listening.